Okay, excellent. Hi, Gabby. What's up? You drawing? Bet you're drawing. I bet you're drawing. Gonna do a little bit more work on this guy to get it up to acceptable sketch levels, or at least acceptable for me sketch levels, and then we'll probably sketch another character. These are all like my, to be clear, these are all like my raw materials for the little portfolio I want to put together for this project, and I would basically lay out the pages with these sketches and stuff like that, and see if the ideas read, if that inspires any new ideas. But once any individual sketch has made the cut, so to speak, then I will evaluate if I should work on it a little bit more, fix any major problems. So these are really never done until they've been seen in the book or on the sheets, whatever you're gonna do. Thanks, Magnus. I'm good. I'm doing good. Just getting on stream early, doing my early drawing life. Oh, thank you, TGA. Just real impressionistic metal rendering here. You really don't need to do much to metal as long as it is, as long as it actually looks like it's reflecting the environment, it will look like metal, even with basically no rendering, so to speak. Thank you. I'm glad you guys like the design. There's more designs to come. Pandemonium needs 1,000, scores upon scores, legions upon legions of demons. Based on the source material and what Pandemonium is, you can't just have a couple demons. You obviously can't do every demon, but it's a scope question. It always comes down to how you're trying to respect the scope of the source material. So no, I can't do the scores and scores of demons that, how do I get rid of that stupid crosshair? I can't do the scores and scores of demons that are actually in the source material or implied in the source material. All I need to do is do enough of them to communicate that scope to someone who has not read the material. How do I clear these? Anyone know how to clear these? Let me just put them off to the side where they're not in my way. Accidentally used the wrong color picker tool. Thank you, Prince Little. Thank you for your kind words. I hope that these streams make you feel encouraged to draw. I'm trying to keep them honest. If I'm waking up early and it's one of those days where drawing is the first thing I'm going to do in the day, I'm just trying to get on and do it. Digital art this time? You bet. I'm basically always going back and forth. My digital art and my traditional art communicate with each other and speak to each other and teach each other things. Yep, everything for the same project so far. Not cohesive yet. It's a whole design process. I'm trying to leave a track record for students of starting point at all. So I got some full bodies so far, a sheet of environmental prop sketches, some portraits, different kinds of full body. This all feels very non-cohesive because it's just my sketch process so far. But, you know, so much of this stuff is just the layout. Once I put it into designed book layout pages and I write at the top, like, explorations for more Lovecraftian demons, explorations for more human and fancy demons, suddenly you'll be like, wow, he really had a cohesive vision the whole time. Nope, it's just about the way you brand it. Right now we are just spitting out. Hey Steven, do you ever do pinups? Nope. I personally just don't have any fun trying to draw titillating things. It's not the kind of criteria I like to have floating around in my head. Some of my favorite artists do pinups though. I've studied a lot of Gil Elvgren, an old classic pinup artist. I studied a lot of him back in my anatomy days. He had like a really refined sense of draftsmanship for classic soft feminine forms. I looked at him a lot. But I don't really do that work myself. Can I repeat the name? Gil Elvgren? I'll write it in the chat. This Pandemonium project is going to be an art book. It theoretically could be, but I'll be honest, you're seeing, as of right now, you are seeing the product. This is basically an educational track record that I'm trying to leave for my students. So in some very deep sense, this is the product. This is the educational product. Joseph. What layer am I on? Alright, so I just dump all of this. I've merged down at this point. I'm just in the part of the process where I'm just painting opaque over everything. What are your thoughts on coloring books? Useful or dumb? They sure seem useful. I mean, people basically use them to combat anxiety, right? I think anything that helps reduce people's anxiety is a pretty good thing in the world. Almost everybody that I know is plagued by crippling anxiety, so. Always happy to paint over details to get the contrast level right. The details will do nothing if the contrast level is not right. And metal is very high contrast, so in an area like that, I'll blow out the work that I did before to just get a really dark stripe next to some nice light stripes. That's more important to making it feel like metal than any details that I did. Hi everyone. You like the out-of-the-box design? Well, that's an interesting thing to say. I actually think this design is pretty in the box. I'm looking at this design and I'm like, I gotta go much weirder for the next one. Thank you for the kind words, though. Why are you bothering me? There we go. Hi Steven, have you done Magic the Gathering or any trading card game art? If so, how's the experience for you process-wise? I'm heading in that direction, book cover illustration and the like. I have not worked for Magic the Gathering or anything like that. I've done stuff that's of a similar flavor for like, but just not for trading cards. Like I've done stuff for mobile games and for book publications that would basically, just with a bit of like adjustment for the card format, would be the kinds of illustrations you'd see on card art, but I've never worked in that industry myself. When I was younger, early on in my career, I was gunning for that, but I realized the pay is a problem for me. After I went into industries that paid more, and I found out what card stuff tends to pay, I could not justify it for myself, so I kind of gave up on that little dream, moved on to other things. Which is like, don't let that matter for you if you want to do that. Like, this is the art world. People have all sorts of different financial situations, and that's not the end-all be-all. You know, you do what works for you. I will say, if you can do those jobs traditional, do them traditional so that you can sell the originals. Alright, let me just clean up this back leg. Do you like Giger? Love Giger, one of my major inspirations. Why the humanoid form and not a more abstract kind of demon? I do have more abstract demons. I've got stuff like this. I'm trying everything for this project. I'm trying to show that I am exploring. Or leave a document of the exploration of all the different directions. What kind of projects did you make at the beginning? I was always doing projects, and I did all sorts of stuff. I really mean it, like all sorts of stuff. I did original projects, I did redesigns of things that I liked, I did redesigns of things I didn't really know anything about. I did random prompts given to me by teachers and like online things, but yeah, I did all sorts of projects, always. I was always putting together design books. By always, I mean like from like my teenage years onward, I was always making design projects. It doesn't mean they were good, but I was always practicing this particular skill. For most people who are trying to get into it, I recommend doing what I call a beginner project, but it's really not it's not easy at all. It's just in comparison to the other things you can do. Just take a short story, a very short story. My rule of thumb here is take a story that you can read in no more than 3 hours. So a short story that is a 3-hour read or less, and design most of the important things in that short story. That's the beginner project that I recommend for people who want to get into design. And to give you some reference, when I've taught at Art Center, when I've taught production design, introduction to production design, we have students do that, a short story that's 3 hours or less, on teams. So they're not working alone, and they cannot design everything in that story in 14 weeks. So that should give you a pretty, let me offer that as a reality check for how difficult and time consuming it is to design well with feedback. So if you're rushing through it and think you're gonna do it in like a week, you're kidding yourself and you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're gonna do bad designs. Anna says, oh wow, I'm doing that, but I'm making a huge ass story. Should probably save that for later then. Yep, probably. It's not like there's anything wrong with doing, it's not like there's anything wrong with doing a huge story. It's just, it's a problem if you don't have realistic expectations. If you want to design like to scope, that is to say, if you want to do let's say you're designing for a novel that's 500 pages and you want to do it to scope, that is to say you want it to feel when someone looks through your design book that you were designing something as big as a 500-page novel, you shouldn't expect to do that in anything less than a year, I would say, if you want it to be good. You can do an uninteresting, horrible version of it in under a year, but if you're trying to get a job with it or make it hit the level, you should realistically not plan on doing that in less than a year. And if you're the kind of person who can do it in less than a year, you certainly don't need my or anyone else's help. You're just like already that person. Yeah, it's perfectly fine to do projects like that. It's just you need to have realistic expectations, because if you don't, you just get frustrated for no real reason, just because you're totally backwards on how long things take. You rush everything, and then because you're rushing it, everything looks horrible, so you get more frustrated, and then you just quit. That's why it's not good. See if I can get away with reflecting that golden cane into the armor. Hey Janosch, what's up, man? If you're into design, you should go check out Janosch's channel. Unlike me, he actually focuses on how to design and do portfolios and things like that. I just talk about it every now and then, but Janosch actually makes videos about that. What else do I feel I would need to do to this guy before I feel comfortable jumping to the next one? Clean up some of this. I am doing well, Janosch. Thanks you, sir. Oh, sorry, I'm stretching. I'm glad you like the silhouette. It's got a pretty out there silhouette. If you're just gonna do a normal plate armor kind of thing, I think you gotta push it with the fabrics and stuff like that a lot of the time. What method of drawing heads that you use? Loomis, Bridgman, Hogarth, both? And did you study a sorrow head or the planes? I was drawing the planes of the head minutes ago. I have investigated all of those methods, but like most artists who are more focused on their creative work and sort of have that stuff under their belt, I never think about those even for a second while I sketch. They were useful and they taught me a lot of stuff, but they are never consciously on my mind when I draw anymore. I would never want to think about a method while I'm designing. I just want to connect with the character. That's it. So when I sketch a face, I'm just looking for the emotion for the interesting arrangement of forms, for it to communicate the mood that I want and the interest that I want. I have no interest in sacrificing any of that or even distracting myself from any of that by thinking about something as abstract as like, am I doing a Loomis head? It's like, what does that even mean, you know? So yeah, I've investigated all those things, but the point of all those methods is that you leave them behind at some point. You just use them as they're medicinal, you know? You've got some problem, you don't understand some part of the head, you use those methods as medicine, you know, a useful way to investigate those problems, and as soon as you have the problem fixed, just right back to drawing. Always return to your childlike state of just, you know, when you're a kid, you're not worried about how you're drawing, you're just like on a psychedelic trip where you're like, this thing is real, I'm gonna make it real. Like, what does it mean for it to be real? Like, all of your emotions are tied up with the content and not how you draw. That's always what you want to return to. That's always what makes designing easier and good. You never want to worry about what you're doing. And some of that is mileage, just letting skills sink under the filmy surface of consciousness, but then the other part of it is actively choosing that. There is some amount of it that you have to choose to make it real. Let's just poke the face ever so slightly. Do you have any advice on being a fine artist? I'm not a traditional fine artist, so not really. Yeah, I would. The better advice you'd get is from someone who's in that industry. Just understand that it is an industry, right? It's just one where you get to pick what the market is, right? Like, whatever particularly fine thing you're doing, that's what you are implicitly saying there should be a market for. And then you just need to, you have to understand that, yeah, it's fine, right? It's very fine. It's very woo. It's just about quality and art made for its own sake, but you must still manifest the market or play to a market if you want to do it for money. If what it's about for you is making money as a fine artist. Which is an important consideration, because for a lot of people, it's not about the money. There's a lot of fine artists who are independently wealthy, so they just do whatever they want, and they don't really have the same concerns as people who need to make money off of stuff. Once you start meeting people in that world, you'll see how true that is. What are your thoughts on Wayne Barlow's paintings of hell? They're great. I don't think I've seen all of them, but all of the ones that I have seen I think are great. I love how far he went into the sublime and the abstract. Nothing in his hell that looks normal. Very admirable, I would say. I can't really do stuff like that. I've spent too much of my life thinking like in a more traditional design modality, so I'm constantly getting inspired by real world things, and I just like to get them in there. I just like to let them influence the designs and show up and stuff like that. I do like myself some good abstraction, you know, but I can never just do that. I always wind up needing a blend to satisfy me. Hi Steven, is it possible to learn how to draw people without drawing them in real life? Sorry if it's a stupid question. Yeah, you can learn to draw people from photographs and other references, like anatomical references and stuff like that. It's just, you just can't realistically expect them to look like what people look like to the eye, you know? Like when you're in a room with somebody. It would be very hard to achieve that without looking at people in real life. But it's like as long as your goals align with very literally what you are practicing, yeah, you can totally do it. It's like if your goals, or if you're extremely comfortable with, yeah, I draw people the way they look in photographs, it's like, then it's perfectly fine to only practice people from photography, you know? It's not like there isn't useful, like, cross-learning things that could be gained from drawing them from life, but for all intents and purposes, if you're really precision on your goal, you need never do anything except what will benefit the goal directly, you know? Whatever cross-learning things may be available, they must, by definition, always be less important than just doing, or less impactful than just doing exactly what your goal would be. I'm gonna leave this behind in a minute. I'm just gonna put some dark areas in key parts of the silhouette here. What are you drawing, Steven? Any context or just a standalone piece? Nope. I am designing the entire hypothetical city of Pandemonium for John Milton's Paradise Lost. From the characters to the frickin' restaurants, so... Give me a year. And that's an interesting type of cloak. Yeah, well, I would say it's the type of cloak it is the type of cloak that's fun to draw. Definitely not like any real cloak. Do people call you Steve for short? Most people do. I think of myself as Steven, though. Even though I've never quite identified with my name. Squinting at this while I do it to make sure that the darkening of the cloak that I'm doing actually makes the arm pieces that they are silhouetting pop off instead of just not doing anything. What is your favorite Indian food? What's that one with the cottage cheese and the curry sauce? That's my favorite one. I forget the name though. Bake that to normal. Soften up these edges. Oof, this document is way too big. Way too big for boofs like that. Why not use a hue layer to see the contrast? Well, I don't use a hue layer, I use a proof setup. So I can just do it on a keyboard shortcut instead of needing an extra layer for it. Keeps my layer stack cleaner. Have you ever been to Singapore? No, I have not. Yeah, paneer masala, that sounds right. What would you say really helped you to learn and understand how to design things in general? Are there books, online resources that talk about this? Form, follow, function, that sort of thing? Nothing helps more than doing it a lot. Like I've said, I was always doing design projects like this, and that was the majority of my education in design. Nothing helps more than that. Nothing even comes close. You know, when I applied to college when I was 18, I was applying with 4 individual projects. My entry portfolio to college was like 200 pages of design work. Across 4 different projects that I, you know, most of them I just invented them myself or placed on myself. I had one of them that I had done in a night class, but I was always doing that. So even by the time I went to design school, like my first design book in design school, it's like that was design book number 6, 7, 8, 9. Like nothing helps more than just doing it a lot. That is the absolute most important thing. The only quasi-objective thing beyond that is the principles of design. That's it. You've got to have some sort of personal relationship with hierarchy, contrast, balance, rhythm, emphasis, variety, economy, repetition, balance, movement, continuity, proportion. You just have to... If anyone asked you to talk about any of those points, you need to be able to write like 10 pages about it, you know? Every good designer that I know can do that. But even that is like, if you're not, you develop that personal relationship with the principles of design by using them over and over and over again, and seeing how you fail with them and how you succeed with them and what works and what doesn't. It's like that's how you develop that understanding. Whoops. Great. Hope I saved recently. Cool. No recovery. Awesome. Oh yeah, I know. You crashed. Yeah, you don't have to tell me. It was pretty obvious. Let's see how much we lost. Not bad actually. Thank God I save habitually. Jesus. You gotta save constantly. Alright. What did I lose actually? I don't know, it's basically up to date. If I can recommend any neurotic twitch, it's constantly hitting Command S while you work. Is your Photoshop cracked, or do you pay for it? I pay for Photoshop. It would be really ridiculous for... Photoshop is how I make all my money. It's not that expensive in a subscription. I don't even know how you... Photoshop is so buggy now. You know, it's so ancient, and it has such a long legacy that it's like... I don't know what you do without the updates to fix the bugs. Eugene Dream with the $5 Canadian. Thank you so much for the coffee today, Eugene Dream. I'm going to drink that coffee deep. I'm going to close my eyes and moan softly while I drink that coffee. I'm going to feel the complex flavors playing on my palate. Swirl it lightly. Inhale a little bit of air into my mouth so that it aerates. And as I do that, I'm gonna think, the sweet taste of Eugene. Thanks, Eugene. Hey, Steven, what's your file size and how much RAM? How much RAM do you have on PC? This is a pretty big file right now. This is big. This is over almost 9K wide right now. I should make it smaller. I made it bigger for a specific purpose earlier, and then I just forgot to make it smaller. This PC has 64 gigs of RAM. Don't need the old building files anymore. This sketch is very silly. And there's the under sketch for that one. We can get rid of that. And back to 4 layers. Let's just make this concept A, concept B, and we can make this smaller again. So we can make it like 4K high. What is the best way to supplement lack of access to live figure models? Currently still in lockdown in Australia, and I wish I could observe more from life. You probably don't, unless you have a goal that is specifically about drawing great anatomy, like you really need it in your pictures, right? Like one of the whole points of your pictures is to draw naked people, right? If your dream is to do, not that I'm saying this is a great sketch, this happens to be up. If your dream is to do costume designs like this, do you need to know how to draw incredible biceps? No. I'm just going to be honest. You really don't. You just don't. You should spend more of your time understanding the basics of posing and structure and invest more of your energy into costume design. So it's actually very few and specific artistic goals that require a hyper-refined understanding of life drawing anatomy. And if you, because of that, you'd probably be just fine drawing not live figure models, nude models, but just people in your house, your roommates, your family, people at the gas station. Like, they're live models as well, right? No, they're not ripped and they're not nude figures, but they will teach you plenty about purpose and posing and casual gestures and things like that, which are just as important as the dramatic dance moves that figure models like to do, which ironically you barely ever need to frickin' draw. I love nude figure drawing, but I hardly ever need to draw that stuff. I do it just because it's fun, not because it's training. I actually prefer costumed figure drawing whenever I can get my hands on it, because that automatically makes the model have more purpose in their gestures instead of just doing dance moves. It's very important that the model act. All right, let's do another sketch. I'll leave those guys like that for now. They have the basic idea in them. That's all that matters. What was this? What did I do there? Okay, that goes here. Yes, yes, yes. Detail or simplicity? I love detail, but for most artists, simplicity is better. You have to sacrifice a lot and deal with a lot if you want to prioritize detail in your work. I think for most artistic goals and for most industries, simplicity is better received. Not within illustration and design and stuff like that. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about the big picture there. Like most artistic disciplines, like animation, graphic design, UX design, motion graphics, like the big picture of artistic disciplines. Simplicity is way more marketable and efficient and effective and popular. Detail is pretty niche. You hate digital art, but my style is so cool. Well, thank you. I hate digital art too. I just do it because digital is how I prefer to work in color, but it is annoying to actually draw digitally. I generally try to avoid it. I have enough fun doing it, but I would always have more fun doing it traditional. All right, let me just do some little thumbnails here, see if anything sticks, because I haven't really drawn today. All I've been doing is painting and rendering. Just gonna do stupid stuff. Yes, this is a very good demon design. Yeah, I can already tell. This is a winner. Off to a good start here. Nice. All right, so obviously it's going to be hard to beat that one. So let's just put it up there. We'll probably wind up doing that one because it's such an incredible design. And then we'll see if, but we'll see, we'll explore, see if we can find something better. God damn, does anyone know how to clear these little markers from the color sample tool? If I you just right click them, beautiful. Now I'm happy. These guys look pretty young. Maybe let's try an older looking one. Older looking dude. That looks a little piratey, even though I was thinking more like an Edwardian English surcoat. Actually, I don't know if that's Edwardian. I forget what period that's from. Hold on, I need my coffee. Oh no, my coffee's empty. That's sad. Hi, Wally. I tend to shrink designs as I sketch them digitally so that my little hand movements make bigger gesture lines and things like that. How's your relationship between traditional paper and drawing on the monitor? I'm not drawing on my monitor. I'm using a graphics tablet that's down below my monitor. And I draw on paper way better. There's no way around that. I don't really think about it, the hand-eye disconnect anymore though, because I've been drawing on a graphics tablet since I was like 13, so I'm just used to it. You okay there, pup? Can barely get out of your crate. You alright? What's wrong? Tired? I kind of like that costume design, but that definitely looks like a young man's costume. Should probably be a younger demon rather than an older demon. You know, older and younger looking, of course. This imperial substance cannot fail. Age is nothing to them. However you see them, that is merely the form they are choosing to take. Bye, Brody. Did you watch Squid Game? I watched the first episode last night. No problem, Rocky. I am always happy to run my mouth about art, that's for sure. So, no sweat. Yeah, it's hard to tell between these two which is the more solid design, you know? It's like it's a neck and neck race as to which is more thoughtful and carefully done. It's hard to predict which one a snooty art director would react better to. Yeah, you know, well, that's the problem with design. It's so subjective, you know, it's so hard to tell often. Yeah. How much information do you try to include in a rough sketch before going for a more detailed pass? For me, I need very little, right? Because I'm only communicating with myself. So for me, a rough sketch like this is, off of this, I can imagine the finish, right? But I would do more for an art director because I need to catch the areas where I'm filling in very important gaps. And I'll go back in and do a second pass so that those things communicate to the AD. So for me, very little. I need very little on a rough sketch. But if I'm gonna share it with someone, I'd do more. I wouldn't send this unless it was like at the bottom of a stack of better sketches, you know? Yeah, no, I know Humpty's really good. Like, you guys think I'm blind or something? I mean, yeah, you don't have to reassure me. I know that's a sick design, right? Like, it's got it all, really. You know, strong shapes, good proportions, really interesting costume design, and a sort of like Roman-inspired skirt down here. Cool, unexpected haircut. Yeah, no, trust me, I know it's good. Is an art director usually an artist himself, or is always an artist? No, all art directors are different. With experience, you get used to sort of sizing them up. You know, you can tell, all right, this one is operating on an advanced artistic level. They can read sketches, they can dream into them. Usually those are the ones who have done a lot of sketching and designing on their own. And then you can size up the ones that they're an art director more in the creative design sense. They can't read into sketches. What they have is clear opinions, and they're good at doing research, and they can establish the hierarchy of a design. But then they usually need a little bit more explanation in the sketches. Things need to be a little bit more clear. With experience, you can size them up. Do you have any advice on getting loose and not being too concerned about constructing forms? Yeah, literally just do stuff like this, right? That's it. There's nothing complicated about it. If you really know the structures of the things that you are trying to convey, it doesn't matter if you sketch loose. Like, you'll be able to tighten it up and dream a solid structure into it. The problem is if you don't have a clear idea of the structures, if you don't understand how the forms sit in space. But I think that you should be able, I think for most artists, if you're into like the sketching stuff, you should be able to just make stuff like that look beautiful. Like, you should be able to get a charge out of things like that, right? And, you know, there's design in there. There should be intuitive design in there, right? Here's an area of detail. Here's an area of simplicity. And then it ends with another area of detail, right? So even just rabid curves should be made beautiful by your hand. Like, you shouldn't be able to get outpaced by an experienced artist's random curves like that. You should practice doing stuff like that and hunting for excitement from them. You know? It's like signature stuff, like the way you write your name in your signature. I don't know, Steve, I'm not sure it gets any better than Gladiator Meatball. You may have just beaten art. Well, yeah, I usually do that. I usually beat art. The problem is that I need more than one demon. Like, obviously he's the cover of the portfolio, right? Obviously he's either the first page or on the cover, but there's got to be other stuff inside, right? And like half of it will be turnarounds of him and details of him and 3D models of him and him inside of keyframe paintings interacting with other characters and stuff like that. But it's already there, right? It's like there needs to be other characters for him to interact with. But obviously he's the emphasis. Obviously he's the hero design of the book. Should you concern yourself with form and structure while figuring out a design, or is the graphic shape read more important? It's both. You do need to do both, but the graphic shape read is more important for immediately selling the idea. But it's like, if you're working, let's say, in video games where you're doing sketches that people are supposed to be able to turn into 3D models, like, the graphic shape read is essential, right? You need the design to communicate clearly, but there needs to be some form consideration there, or else what are they going to model? You know, you've got to have done something to make the 3D modeler's job clear. So it's unfortunately both, you know, as it so often is in these challenging fields. The answer is it's probably as complicated as possible. It's art. Hey Steven, how you doing? I have a weird request. If you don't mind, can you critique my work? That is not a weird request at all, but I must always deny that request. Apologies. These days I can only critique my students and the people in my workshops and stuff like that. I just don't have time to take random critique requests. And if I accept yours, that's all I'll ever hear about. So it's a tyranny of the masses in this case. Hello, Cheese. What was the turning point for you to decide to stop drawing pages of boxes every morning? I mean, I didn't do that for more than a few weeks, so. And I never just did that. You should, today's your turning point. You should stop immediately. I mean, is your dream to draw toasters? Stop it. Thanks, Prophet. Is it about abstraction or about the idea? It is about both, unfortunately. If you're talking about design, the designs that you're used to, everybody's taste is trying to operate on the highest possible level. So it's about both. There's no easy answers. If you're like any question in terms of design or industry stuff and things like that, where you're like, is it more about this or is it more about this? The answer is always, it's about both. It's about both. The really good stuff is doing everything all the time. It's valid to choose to prioritize one over the other. Like, any choice in prioritization is valid, but you need to know what you're leaving on the table, right? There's no right or wrong. You can go either way, but if you're going to choose to forsake one thing or the other, you need to do it with a bit of wisdom and care, I would say. Do you consider yourself more an analytical artist or instinctive artist, or 50-50? I think naturally I'm more analytical. Ahmed Al-Duri had to teach me how to be more instinctual. Or I think I always had it in me, but it wasn't until he served me a debilitating correction that I realized I had left it behind for no good reason, to be instinctual. You need friends. You gotta make art friends. And you need honest art friends who are going to tell you when you're messing up or when you're thinking ass backwards and stuff like that. You can't do this stuff in a vacuum. So draw everything? No, it depends what you want to do. The most important thing an artist needs to do is get clear on their goals, right? If your goal is to be something like a generalist designer, then yeah, you probably want to have enough of a draftsmanship grasp that nothing will like completely befuddle you in drawing. But that goal is for a very small set of people, you know? That's probably not the kind of artist that you want to be. You probably want to do something more specific. There's probably a smaller set of things that you actually find fun to draw. So you should just go for that. The most important thing is to get very clear on your goals. I wanted to join in one of your course, but I'm a photo manipulator artist. Does someone like that can benefit from the course? Yeah, you could. I mean, I do. Most of what I talk about in my workshop is really about the mentality of knowing what you want as an artist and setting clear goals and how to self-teach and things like that. And it really goes beyond any particular medium or craft. But you just would need to accept that because I don't do photo manipulation really, and because I mostly draw, when you're listening to other people's crits and when I'm giving feedback to people, you're probably not going to hear a lot of technical stuff that applies to you. So it really depends how disappointed or into that you're going to be, right? If you're showing up just for discussions of how to watch out for artistic mental downfalls and things like that, then I think, well, there's plenty of that. So as long as you know what you're getting yourself into. Steven, are you brutally honest to your fellow YouTubers, James and Ahmed, when they ask me to be? I guess not with Ahmed. With Ahmed, anytime he shows me his stuff, I'm always quick to tell him that this is not my taste at all. I find your work utterly despicable and disgusting. You're wasting all of your skills. It's just not my taste. You know, I know some people are really into this, but I would never look at your artwork. I hate your artwork. Again, I respect that you're really, really good, and I love you so much as a teacher, but I just want to remind you that I would prefer to never see another one of your pieces. So with him, I'm brutally honest, but I don't know how helpful that is for him, you know? Thanks, Telmo. If we draw our favorite character from TV shows, games, books, is it fine or working on fundamentals? No, you can draw your favorite stuff. I think you should draw your favorite stuff. Yeah, on the being brutally honest art friends together, I don't mean just be mean all the time or anything like that. It's just you need to have that door open, I think. It doesn't mean you need to offer that advice, even to your close friends. It doesn't mean you need to offer that advice unsolicited anytime you see their stuff. It doesn't mean that. That's just like you looking for an excuse to be an annoying prick. It's gonna hurt your relationship. You just need to leave that door open. Like, your art friends should be able to say a secret code word, right? Where they're just like, all right, mask off, just give it to me, right? And then you should be willing to give it. It doesn't mean do it unsolicited for just all the time. It's like a standing thing. But when you are asked for feedback, you should be willing to do that. You just need to leave that door open. Like, I personally love any art anyone's making, right? Like, I think art is so important for the world and for life that, like, I feel like my opinion couldn't matter less, you know? Like, it's really only useful in a very niche regard. So I generally take a very positive tack, but if any student or anything like that wants to approach me with, like, just destroy me, like, I'm that kind of person. I need them to own that that's what they need, right? Like, my upbringing, my temperament, I need, like, really brutally honest and, like, kind of negatively tinged, just like gritty machismo hardness, right? Which I really think a lot of that stuff can fall into. I'll give them that too, you know? I'll just put on my college personality again, and I'll be like, yeah, the best thing to happen for this drawing would be if you just completely threw it out and started again and did it right, you asshole. The composition is boring, the values are uninteresting, the colors are uninspired, the drawing is some of the laziest that I've ever seen you do. Like, I'm happy to offer that advice if that's what someone needs, right? But I wouldn't do it unprompted. And it's always just my opinion, right? I would never offer that advice pretending that it was right or real. You know, whenever you give advice like that, that's only your opinion. But sometimes people need that. Sometimes the stakes are so high and people are so desperate to make something work in their career, and their deadlines are so tight that they need to know that stuff sucks, right? They need to know that because they're like, I need to have a job within a year or something like that. It's like, yeah, if that's your goal, you need to, the people who you are communicating with need to be willing to tell you that you are way off the mark for however long you are off the mark, you know? Yeah, see, Ahmed does this thing where if you talk about him too much, his ears start prickling and he hunts you down. He can follow that sensation to whoever's talking about him. Who said what about me? Oh, I'm sorry, brother, I'm stretching. I was just talking about how you need art friends who will be brutally honest with you. You need people who will look at your stuff and be like, yeah, it's a little rigid, uninspired, stuff like that. You do need some close group of people at some point that will tell you the reality of what's going on with your art. And I got on that because I forget what someone asked, but I brought up that I was too analytical for years, and it was you who served me the most difficult correction of like, you think that all of this analytical stuff is going to get you there, but your work looks fucking boring, and you need to just focus on making it look cool at a certain point. Which is just like, you know, that's a hard crit because it's like, it's a big picture thing and it's telling you to like go against the way you think, you know? So you need friends who will do that for you. Med, I would invite you on, but I'm about to jump off in like 10 minutes. Unless I do the best design drawing of the whole group right now, in which case I'll totally stay on. No, this isn't going to be it. This is too anatomy focused. Whenever anatomy gets this extreme, I never want to dress it. And these sketches are about doing some clothes. These are all clothed. So let's not make such a ridiculous body proportion. Just unleash the inner Cecil. Freaking mad. I still say that line. Even if I'm giving someone a crit, I'll still say that line just for myself. If I'm discussing some sort of dark value patch, I still do that. Even though it's just for me, which is pretty lame, I guess. Yeah, very glam rock. Yeah, I don't think it's time to go into other influences just yet. I think we should keep going down the European rabbit hole for a bit before we switch continents and look for demons of that sort. I am pretty into, or pretty open to getting off the European train though. I just want to start with European because Paradise Lost is European and based on Christian mythology, so I mean Christian facts. There you go, Med. That's next level dumb that it still has a blade. That the blade is not the guitar body, that there's just a blade coming out of the guitar body. That's next level dumb right there. Is there a general industry standard for DPI? If I'm not mistaken, DPI is just for printers, so you just want to base your DPI on what your actual print criteria are, what kind of printer you're using. Bye, Med. Take care. Talk soon, bud. I don't really worry about DPI. I just worry about the overall pixel resolution. I try to do everything at least over 4K for a final. Can work way bigger than that though. I would say a good rule of thumb is to work at least double what the deliverable size is. So if the client or the product is going to be, let's say, full HD 1920 by 1080 in the final, that's how they're going to put it out on the internet or whatever, you want to work at least double that, 3840 by 2160 TV 4K. And then just apply that rule of thumb to anything else. I haven't done like a hat. I should do one with like a real poofy Renaissance hat. See what I can get out of that. These things are hard to draw because they're rather formless a lot of the time. It's very difficult to make them look solid because they're just so bleh, like a deflated blobfish. Thanks, Dragoon. You're very kind. Much love from New York. Good luck with your drawings. Keep on drawing if you love doing it. I don't know what to tell you. I just think demons should wear hats. It's just, that's the kind of person I am. I don't want to fight about it anymore. This is probably the best live stream for artists themselves. Tell your friends, please, please. You know, we only grow through word of mouth around here. Seriously though, if you think I'm providing a service here, please tell your friends. If you don't think I'm providing a service, don't worry about anything. Just keep consuming at your leisure. But if you think I'm providing a service here, please tell your friends. The more it grows, the more viable this stuff becomes for me. And you know, I'm still in a time where whenever I'm doing stuff like this, there's like this biting voice at the back of my head that's like, you should be working for clients, you should be working for clients, you should be working for clients. It's like, if you tell your friends, there might be a future where I can just be like, you know what? Let's just do this. We don't have to worry about that anymore. I just don't want to disappear anymore, you know? I like communicating with other artists and being in touch with the artistic community and seeing what's going on with people and hearing about people's emotions. It's like, clearly I care about that. I have 100 videos on my YouTube channel about that. I really, really do care about that. I just like doing that. And it just hurts me that when you go back into the client hole, you're just really in a hole. You just disappear for years at a time. You can't share anything. You can't post anything. You don't talk to anybody. It's fun for some people. I thought it would be fun for me for years. Turns out it hurts. It hurts us. What are we gonna do to make this guy a demon? That's just a normal dude. That's what I get for focusing on a hat instead of the overall idea. Whatever. This one's not a demon. Now I'm just drawing it because it's fun to draw. I could always make it a demon by, oh, secret meatball man. Got him. The design of the century. Incredible. The height of design. So graceful. So finessed. Yep, it's Photoshop. Yeah, man, I think that's good to go. Ship it. Done here. No problem. Fine. I'll save that. It's a hat that is a man, that is a hat, that is a man, that is a hat, that is a man, that is a hat, that is a man. cool. Or a demonic hound. I might have done something like that, but I gave up on him being a demon. I just wanted to draw a Renaissance guy real quick. Sometimes you just gotta let yourself diverge. It's just like, with how regular human and Renaissance he came out, it's like any amount of, you know, putting him on a Hellhound or something like that never would have been, never would have fixed the design. Just the Hellhound would have been on design, would have been appropriate for the design, but the rider would always have been off. Wow, I haven't drawn a horse in so long. So, how long have I been up? I think about a little over 2 hours, right? Are you using a Wacom? I'm not. I'm using a Huion. Alright, so I'm gonna get off in like another 5 or 10 minutes, so if I can be useful to anyone in that short time, please let me know. You could put any questions in the chat and things like that. Steven, any tips on drawing females? Longer lines, smoother curves, offset them with judicious and appropriate straights and boxy areas, because it always gets a little flimsy looking if it's all curvy. And do whatever you can to not think of it as you're drawing females. Like, just draw a character. Men and women all look like totally different things. Like, it's one thing to get the archetype, but try to dream into them like a specific type, you know? I'm not trying to say there, you know, if you're going for titillating and hot, if that's the kind of art that you want to make, I'm not saying don't go for that, but I'm saying explore how specific you can be within that realm, going for a type. Love the stream, part of your morning routine. Love to hear that. Thank you, Shad. When you're doing art at young, what advice you want to give yourself on that period? When you're young, don't worry about methods or pedagogy when you're young. Just the number one thing you should nurture when you're working young is a connection with your content. You want to feel as excited and explosively interested as possible in what you are drawing, and let that guide you. Steven, I want to do more imaginative drawing, but drawing from studies are too fun. What do I do? How do I always put this? If your goals are very up in the air, or if you don't have a specific goal right now or something like that, it's perfectly fine, right? Just know that you could, for example, become a fine artist, right? Someone who just does beautiful life drawings or portrait paintings. And those are basically studies, right? Just super high level studies. You could go down that path for a career, and that would be perfectly fine. But if you have a goal to do creative work and you are always wanting to get dragged back to studies because they feel more fun, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You are ruining your career. And you are basically guaranteeing that you are never going to do the things that you want to do. So you need to take it super seriously if you have other kinds of goals. You can't get caught in that trap. Well, you can get caught in the trap, that's the problem. And lots of people do. And they never pull themselves out of it. So if your goals are flexible, just open yourself up to maybe you're not as into being creative and imaginative as you think. Maybe you're meant to be a study artist, a fine artist. Maybe you're just supposed to do super high level life drawings and stuff like that. But if you want to make a comic book or be a designer, stuff like that, you need to prioritize doing that for at least as much time as you spend studying, if not more. And if you don't do that, you're going to build an unbreakable habit and easy groove for, if I just do this study, I know that in 6 hours I'll do something shareable. And that will create an insurmountable amount of resistance over enough years that will make it impossible for you to ever do the creative thing that you wanted to do. Trust me, it's as serious as anything in art is. You are ruining your career if you do that. EJ Clay says, what are some of your favorite muscles areas to draw? I like the arms and I like the torso. Arms are like when I'm on the phone, if I'm just talking to someone on the phone and I'm sketching, this is always what I've drawn since I was a little kid. That's my muscular arm phone sketch. You know what? I've drawn this design before. Yeah, I'm not going to do this one. I just remembered that I've drawn that before. Something very, very similar. I'm not going to do that one. I don't know that. Yeah, I think it's going to be the meatball. I think the meatball's the winner from this batch of sketches. Or this guy. Or that second guy. But definitely the meatball. Definitely the meatball. Here, I'll make him good while we close out. Did you have a phase where you were looking for the perfect Photoshop brushes? I know I sure have spent more time on the brushes than on drawing. Yeah, that's a poison that's going to ruin your practice. You need to stop that. You know, I would say that I don't think I remember a specific period where I really got obsessed with that. I would never spend a whole day just doing that, but I definitely used to buy more brushes or hunt down brushes. I used to do that more than I do now. Now I do that basically never. I get that they really don't matter. I'll only go looking for one if I need a very specific thing that I know I need to do a lot. I might go hunt for a a rock texture brush because I have to do a job that just needs me to do rocks over and over and over and over and over again. Any advice on drawing fantastical armor? Use reference. Get that reference. Nothing that you dream up on your own is going to be any cooler than the parade armor of Louis XV or something like that, you know? Or the ceremonial armor that they made for this child emperor. Like, all that stuff is always, always cooler than anything you make up. God forgive me. Look what these careless hands have wrought. There's no coming back after this one, boy. I'll tell you what. This is unforgivable right now. Any particular reason you lowered your opacity and flow so much? Not any particular reason. I just, if I want a softer look, I drop them, and if I want a harder look, I raise them. It's not particular. I just know, I can't put into words, but I know there's like a difference in the feeling between having low flow versus low opacity. And I just have like an intuitive sense for when I want one or the other, so that's why I mess with flow. It's almost like flow makes less samples come out of the brush or something like that. So you get a little bit more texture. It's more like you're seeing through more to what's underneath rather than it actually being low opacity. You know, like almost like like there's more spaces between the brush tips so you can see what's underneath better. It's almost like flow does that instead of leaving a perfectly clean stroke that is just like more transparent. It's hard to explain. Some Photoshop technician in this chat gets what's happening better than I do. Do you think iterative drawing is the best practice on getting good at drawing from memory? If you have a goal you're trying to hit, it's useful. It's like if you're trying to replicate something that you're studying from imagination, yeah, doing it over and over again is a good practice. I've done that plenty of times. Like I would copy like a Frazetta arm or a Bouguereau arm or something like that, and then I would close the reference and not close the reference and close my study drawing, and then I would try to do it from imagination. Then I would check it, see where I went wrong, do it again. Check it, see where I went wrong, do it again. And do that like a couple times or 3 times until it was drilled into my head and the last one was better. But nothing is more important than just drawing from imagination a lot. I know it sucks to hear. I know everybody wants something else to be true, but it just isn't. No method, no practice, no study, no trick, no pedagogy, no dream, no hope, no mindset, nothing is anywhere near as effective as just doing it a lot. And you're just getting upset that it doesn't look good, right? And it's like, yeah, of course it doesn't, because you need to do it way more than you think, right? You think it's supposed to look, you think the imaginative drawing is supposed to look good after 10 attempts, 20 attempts, 30 attempts. Nope. Try 40,000 attempts. That's when it starts looking good. You just have very unrealistic standards. I don't mean you, the particular question asker. I mean people who have sort of obsessive thoughts about how to improve their imaginative drawing in general. Yeah, that's just a really good design. That is just a really ridiculously good design. I'm gonna flip the canvas horizontal to this way. It's like it looks really, really good in its original orientation, but when I flip the canvas horizontal, it shows me mistakes, like problems with this design. It makes it a little easier to catch them and correct them, which is, you know, you wanna, with a design that's this good, this important, and that you really want to be presented at its top level, you want to just bite the bullet and correct everything that you can possibly correct. You want it to put its best foot forward. All right, let's see any last questions here. Steven, any advice on jobs for those only working in black and white or drawing? Go for design stuff. You know, a lot of the design jobs that I do, I rarely need to use color. If you market yourself specifically for doing a wide range of design iterations, and you can do the really hard parts of those jobs, a lot of those places, it's like, they'll have other people color your drawings and they just need you to design the stuff. So that's one way to go. You might also look, if you're not interested in like straight up like hardline design, like designing real world environments or industrial design or stuff like that, which is mostly the markets that I do that kind of thing in. Look at like interior illustrations, right? Like if you look at like the books that Paizo or Peterson Games put out, or Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. If you look at their books, yeah, the covers are always in color, but they're way more flexible. Like the interior artists, the people who do sketches on the inside of the book, lots of that stuff is in black and white, and you can get black and white. You can get black and white gig work in that. It's all just specific markets. You gotta like do your research. You gotta go buy books and buy products and see where you're finding stuff that's only in black and white, and then just try to get into those markets. Yeah, Shrek ears to help the silhouette. It makes the silhouette read better, and it has a nice snappy pop because they're thin where they depart from the silhouette and then they bulge out. That's contrast. That's shape contrast. You want things to oscillate between small, wide, big, small, big, small. Yeah. So just another example of how utterly on the ball that design is. Explain how to get this handy layers vertical menu. That is a plugin called Layer Factory. You can find a description. You can find a link to it in the description of the stream. Feels like lots of people just give themselves reasons not to draw more. Yeah, it's a disease. It's a pandemic that's spreading through the art community. Bum 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 bum. Perfect design. Yep. It's really, really good. It's really good, people. You guys don't have to keep telling me how good it is. I'm a professional. I've been doing this a long time. I have a razor sharp eye. I know how good it is. You don't need to say it. I know how good of a design it is. I do almost all from imagination. Gotta say it is cheerful all day just drawing. Yay! Those are fireworks going off. That's a big celebration for you. Ride that train for as long as you can. Sending you much joy and appreciation. I'm very happy for you. Very happy for you, Oni. All right, everybody. I gotta run. It's time for me to peace. Do you remove opacity when painting? No. I tend to paint with opacity jitter on, so I can make slightly lighter strokes, slightly darker strokes. Stop inflating Steven's ego. Yeah, you couldn't possibly inflate it. Like, I'm the guy who can do that. So that's enough. Like, my ego is as big as possible. Like, I have the autobiographical fact that I can draw that. So I'm basically high off my own supply all the time, obviously. So it's not so much that you guys telling me it's a good design in the chat is inflating my ego, it's that it's unnecessary, right? It's just taking up unnecessary space in the chat. There's valuable questions out there that I could be focusing on. You're not telling me anything new by telling me that this is a good design. That's clear, right? That's very clear. One more stretch before I go. Gotta work off that rusty chair body. Oh. Okay. I just can't draw without reference. Any advice? You just need to do it more. That's it. You're probably getting bummed that you've tried drawing without reference maybe somewhere in the area of less than 100 times and you're overreacting to it. It's like, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's a really long road. You just need to get through it. You got to get over the hump. You need to feel the pain of drawing without reference a couple of 1,000 times, and then you'll start seeing some progress. That initial hump is pretty big. Tips for someone that wants to turn their art into a business? Put yourself in a specific market, and don't forget, you need to ask for money, right? The weird thing about the art world these days is that people don't assume artists want money or jobs or anything like that. If you need money and you need to turn it into a business, you put yourself in a specific market and you need to tell people, pay me for this. Like, you ask for money, right? And by that I mean have stuff on sale, right? Like, make it clear how someone can support you, where they can buy the stuff, what product you're offering, right? Because if you're just making art, no one even registers that they should be like supporting you or something like that. They just assume you're quite happy how you are. So put yourself in a specific market, as specific as you can, and let people know, I'm open for business. Please let me do something for money or buy my product or something like that. That's step one. Steven, do you work out? I don't like lift weights or anything anymore. I have phases. I used to do some of that. Mostly I just run. I like cardio. I just like going for runs. It helps me keep my anxiety under control. Bye, everyone. I'm sorry, Oni. I don't have time to read anyone's comics or anything like that these days. My apologies. My schedule is just too packed. But look, Dragoon's gonna read it. Community. Thanks, Janos. I appreciate it. Pretty sick shapes on this meatball Centaurian, I know. All right, everyone, have a good day. And if you're drawing today, good luck. Good luck with your drawing.